I'm Caryll. I've been sticking up for myself, you know. If you want something, you do it. I used to save. I got a quarter a week allowance. So I saved for 4 weeks, so I had $1, and that's what it cost to go horseback riding. My father was a Ford dealer, one of the biggest in the country, in Brooklyn. And they had a promotional, the Ford Tri-Motor plane was just built. And they circulated one of the planes amongst the dealers across the country. And it came to New York. And it was out of Holmes Field, which was located now where LaGuardia is.
Oh, I'm sorry, okay.
And we went on a trip and flew around the Empire State Building, which was being built at the time. And just last year, the Tri-Motor, Lee and I tried to get the Tri-Motor out of Trenton. It was making a circuit, one of the old ones. But I was out with my other son on the West Coast, and we picked it up in Reno, and we went on a trip on it. It was great. It really was great. We have some great pictures of it.
How old were you when you went up with your dad and that?
I was about 6 or 7.
Wow.
So I was born in 23. I was an ambulance driver for the Red Cross during the war.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was married to Cy at that point.
Okay.
And I worked for the Red Cross, and I worked for the Navy Yard. That's what I was doing there, driving.
Yeah. How old were you then?
22, somewhere in there. I left home partially because I just couldn't get along with my brother. And my father had died, and finances were very poor. And I just got out of the house, and I started, I met some people who thought differently. I was a very sheltered kid. The reason I joined the Communist Party, because all these people had these warm feelings about other people, and they were so-called do-gooders, and it seemed a decent thing to do. And the people that I was with were all just wonderful people. You know, I became a secretary. That's now secretary has a fancy name, but all I did was paper pushing, really. You know, and one of the comrades had a new baby, and we'd babysit for her. You know, it was just it was a way of life, and I didn't have that kind of warm relationship in my family. I went underground. I was underground for about 2.5 years. I disappeared. You know, I was very much alive, but I disappeared. I had set up ways and means of contacting my mother. She was going to the FBI to look for. You didn't know that. She was furious. She was so anti-communist. She had a prepared speech at any moment. Anyway, I lived in different places. I had several places where I could, you know, stay over, and moved in, and I had a car, and you know, everything was as secure. I'm sure if I went to find my records, they would have had me all written up and knew exactly where I was. Howsoever, I was small time. I was not, I was, what do I want to say? It was, for some of the big shots, I did their running and their doing and their arranging and their meetings and yeah, and then, you know, everything broke apart. The party just broke completely, which was just around the time that my second husband and I were married. I met somebody, I became an air raid warden, okay? And I met one of the neighbors who I eventually married. But it was a long, long thing because he had a family and so that it was a 10-year kind of relationship which was looked upon not kindly. Well, I had 2 wonderful kids. And we had a comfortable life. Unfortunately, my husband was a lady, what do I want to say? He liked women. I decided that I was going to move up to a farm, and I bought a farm, and I started to raise horses, and I lived there for 25, 27 years. They'd come for, in July, they had to come and help me. But it was a wonderful place. Everybody dropped in. Oh, we had goats, we had cats and dogs and horses and
Geese, ducks.
Wonderful ducks.
Yeah.
It was wonderful. It's the best time of my life. I worked very, very hard. Attaching the hay implements onto the tractor. Either the little tractor or the big tractor. I had a bulk up. I did it. I had a wonderful girlfriend up there. She was part horse. I mean, she was one of the smartest ladies I ever met. She's a wonderful lady, peculiar. I mean, tough. But we had a relationship that, and she, whatever I learned from her. She was smart as hell. You know, and I learned to do things with my hands and my head. It just got too much. I don't remember, I was 70-something, and we had 2 weeks of 20 below zero. That's what did it. I put the house up. You know, if I had to start all over again, number one, I would have gone to school. Because I went to night school and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But what I know now, but then everybody, you finished high school, you went to work. You needed the money. You know, living through the Depression.